turn of the century, some historians were able to find somebody who had been a little girl in that mill. She was in her 90s, I think, but before she died, they said, will you tell your story? And so she just tried to think back to what it was like. And she said that she was in, as Bev said, there are different machines in every room. So she and other workers were in one room, they were in some rooms. And she said there have been rumors all over that all of a sudden at one set time, you know, that whether it was 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, everybody was going to drop what they were doing and they were going to walk out. And they were going to say, you know what, we can't work 16 hours a day anymore. We can't work 6 days a week. We need better pay. We need more of the things that you put on the list before. And so she said that the girls, you know, they're kids, they're children, weren't sure what to do. And in her particular area where there were hundreds of young girls working on certain machines. And so her recollection was that she said that she was unsure herself, but then she thought, I have to do this. I have to make a better life for myself and all the people I work with. And so they'd heard that in some of the other machines and some of the other floors in this textile mill in Lowell, that people had actually walked out. They were hearing noises coming from below. But they're isolated in their own space, a couple hundred girls. And so she said the girls didn't know what to do, and they're turning around to each other saying, are you going to walk out? Are you going to walk out? What are you going to do? And then she said she finally said to herself, I'm walking out. I have to do this. This is the right thing for all of us. And so she just got up from her particular move, and she said, well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm going out. And she just turned around and walked towards the door and started marching out. She said she was halfway out the door and she turns around, and every single young girl in that particular area was following her out the door. And so she's recollecting this, you know, 80 years later, and she said it was one of the most important days of my life. I felt I had really done something to make a difference, to take a stand, to make a better life, not just for me, but for other people. And then she said, I was 11 years old. So that it kind of said, you know, kind of chills up my spine when I read her story, you know, 11 years old. And she just said, I'm going to do this, and led hundreds of other girls out the door to join a strike of tens of thousands of people. Fast forward, now they got a little bit of benefit, but what happened was, as Bev said, those were girls, those were farm girls pretty much from rural New England that came to work in the factories. They tried to exert their rights the very first time in the 1830s, but then all of a sudden, people started coming over on the boats. And so it's, you know, farm girls, we don't need you anymore. Because we've got people who look like Sean that are coming over from Ireland or something. And you know what? You demand, you want $1 a week? Sean will work for 50 cents a week. So we don't need you girls, go. I'm going to get Sean and his buddies, and, you know, they're going to work and they're going to run our looms. And then all of a sudden, Sean and his buddies, you know, after they work for a while, they're thinking, you know what? I don't want to work 16 hours a week, and this 50 cents a week or this $1 a week, I can't feed my family, I can't feed myself, and besides, the only place I can buy groceries is at the company store anyway, so I'm taking my pay and I'm giving it right back to the company because they're providing me with food and housing. And I got nothing. I can't get ahead. So they're beginning to complain and they're beginning to rumble. And some of them actually have heard about the word union, workers working together. And they start whispering union and start talking to people who have already exerted their rights with unions elsewhere. Boss gets wind of that. And then he says, you know what? I don't need you anymore. Hector. And, you know, people, they're coming over on the boats next. Or they're coming up from the south. I don't need Sean. Hector's going to work for 75 cents a week. You know? And he's not going to complain. He's not a troublemaker like this guy that's talking about you want more. And so this is just these pictures. So what we had is we had a continuation of workers that as soon as they began to exert their rights, I don't need you. I need somebody else who's a little bit more pliant, will do what I want, and is afraid. This